Hi, welcome to our latest masterclass training, Belonging by Design. This month, we're talking about building career partnerships that lift your leadership ceiling. I'm really excited to jump into this with you. I believe that this is the direction that we must go in order to support ourselves, our families, and our communities to rise up the organizational structures where resources can best flow to support our community outcomes. Let's jump right in. I'm your host, Rafat Fields, founder and CEO of Power to Rise. In case this is your first time joining us for this type of training, I want to walk you through the environment that this is sitting in. This is a Notion dashboard or a hub. And the first thing you're going to want to do is open up your very own Notion account. If you don't already have one, there is a very generous free plan. And the way that you can access that fastest is to navigate here to the upper right corner of your screen. This black square that says Get Notion Free will take you right to the place where you can do that setup. Once you have that established, your very next step is to come right back to this template and click on the overlapping squares. When you do this, you're going to be able to bring in a copy of this template that you will be able to customize and personalize with your very own information as you work through the steps. With that in mind, let's jump into the training. By the time you get this section here, the placeholder that says coming soon will be replaced with your replay video. Everything that you need will be down the page. So just go ahead and scroll down. I'll just give you a heads up. This will likely be collapsed in this fashion when you get it. So you'll just click on the slides to fully expand and be able to view those. We're going to walk through them in real time today. And then the free resources that we're going to talk about in a few minutes are located below the slides. And so all you have to do is to come down to the section of the page and either click on the link or the photo, and you will be taken to where those free resources live. What I want you to walk away with today's session is to ground you in our why. This is our moment to come together and recognize and see each other on this shared journey. Later, there'll be a live session where it is invitation only, but it is a safe room for Black women who are growing in our leadership, who understand that in order to continue the climb ahead, we have to surround ourselves with networks and partnerships that empower all of us to rise together. And so this training is to give us common language, to know that what we are building together. You do not have to watch it in its entirety to join the discussion. Feel free, feel empowered to share it with another Black woman who has her eye turned towards ascending up that leadership ladder so that we can have strength in numbers, partnerships, and friendships along the way. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the training because I know we all have a lot on our plates. Where I like to begin with these sessions is standing in the presence of those who made where we are today possible. It's a moment to honor your ancestors, whoever they may be, whoever is calling to you in this season. I think many of us acknowledge and feel drawn to various layers of ancestry in our journey. But as I built this particular set of resources, I wanted to think through who most directly called me into their energy. And these are just a few of those leaders here. Whoever that is in your story, this is a moment to hold space for them, to hold gratitude for the journey that they walked, to create the possibilities that are ahead of all of us, and the pathways that we will pave for those coming behind us as well. The training space that I created for us here today is to become intentional about building the leadership identity that lives within us, physically in a digital space, to open doors for us to walk through in the future. And in order to create the words and the imagery that supports who we are and where we're growing, we have to spend some time thinking about alignment. And that is the entirety of what this particular training will do. As we develop your leadership brand positioning statement or your leadership brand identity, depending on how you want to look at it, we're going to take that and it will serve as the compass that helps you navigate from that internal strategy, that future vision of what you're looking to build, to create all of the elements, the words, the pictures, the projects, the relationships that you build with intention over time to walk through each step of the ladder that leads you to your ultimate destination. I'm going to sit with you in this space of understanding the journey that you have navigated so far, what you are called to create and leave behind, and how we can put strategy around you to make it happen. I believe that a shared journey that Black women hold together is that our leadership extends beyond any singular role or identity that we may carry. Often, we are serving in places of leadership that is not formal. So, we're stepping into the in between spaces, or what we're doing is behind the scenes to empower other teams that may be more visible. All leadership is valuable and important. What I want us to hold in this space is that there's intentionality behind us moving up the ladder into those executive seats. Right now, when we look at the trajectory of outcomes within the Black community, whether they are health related, economic development, they're intricately linked. Policy, it's all part of an interwoven system. And I believe that the way we're going to change the trajectory of those outcomes that has significantly worsened since COVID and at a greater severity than other populations within this country. The way we shift that trajectory to a more positive and a growth forward range is for more leaders, especially Black women, to be in decision making seats where policies are being shaped and resources are being allocated. And so we know whether it is formal leadership, informal leadership, what is important is that we are seated in places where we have access to make those decisions and to build the bridges across those roles so that we can be allocating resources that, yes, lead to organizational growth, but also are strengthening our communities as well. And this is coming from a very specific place in my story and in my heart. And I'm going to share a little with you because you may find that you may be observing similar things. I think that for those of us who identify as being in Generation X, we have a very unique challenge in this space and time. We are the first generation to enter our sandwich years, coming in behind the COVID pandemic and the reintegration into the world. That creates a very different space for us. We get to experience the same tensions as any other generation who's entering into those bookend years of being aware of the care responsibilities that are coming or presenting with parents, as well as still deeply being engaged with child raising and preparing for your kids to enter into adulthood. Society has shifted quite a bit, and the challenges that both ends of the spectrum are facing are greater than any other point in time. We're coming out of a pandemic recovery. And so, for those of us who are in this generation where we are the in between space between the baby boomers as well as the millennials and the Gen Zers who are also stepping into their leadership, we are in a very specific place as caretakers and nurturers across many aspects of our lives. So, for those of us who are in this window of Generation X, Generation Sandwich Leader, this halftime decision becomes even more critical. And I want to bring awareness to this particular journey because for those of us who are choosing to make this walk, You have enough perspective in your career where you can see how far you've come. You can see people within the organization who are now looking up to you. And the top is also quite visible to you. It's no longer this distant place that is far, far away. You can see clearly a path to how to get to those upper level seats, and you're making a determination with everything that is on your plate right now. Is staying in this particular fight worth it? And I want to call us together for those of us who are choosing to stay in this space, to fight that good fight and make it into those executive decision making rooms. We will be successful if we do it together with support and with resources. And that is where we are headed in this discussion. Many years ago, a good friend introduced me to Ikigai. Now, you have to understand this friend and I met in a personal development program. We wanted to become intentional about building our personal brand, and we were learning how to do this from a team of experts. We had dedicated resources. And I love the program, but knowing who I am and how I'm wired, I felt that there was a component that I just couldn't completely click down into. And what I later realized is that the way that I am oriented, that the how and the what, extremely important, but none of it really matters until we center on the why. And so when my friend introduced Ikigai to me, it made complete sense because it brought in that energetic component, that spiritual component of what is the work that I was born to do? What was the reason I was created and sent here into the world? Why have I been given the specific set of experiences that I have lived, the opportunities that have come my way, the steps that have been divinely oriented? I believe all of it centers around a purpose, a reason that I was born. And I believe that every single human has one. And so for me, that's what it represents. It represents an opportunity, a framework that empowers you to sit with the skills and the talent that you have, what the world needs, what's important, what's being valued at the time. What do you love? What are you passionate about? What feels like mission alignment for you? Also, keeping it practical, what can you build a profession around that will pay you so that you can live, right? So, finding the interconnected spot, if you can find the dead center of all those elements, that is your Ikigai. And I coined this intersection the sweet spot. And the reason I want us to hone in and start thinking of our Ikigai in the lane of sweet spot is for those of us who are determined to make that run up the ladder to those executive tables, the C-suite. Where is the place that your energy is going to be most accessible, most renewable, most readily recharged to continue to show up and fight for who and what you care for day after day? Where are you best positioned to run the marathon and not the sprint? And so, if you think about it in this lens, Ikigai and the sweet spot becomes what powers your mission, what powers you to keep going, what is your renewable power source every single day. If we have an opportunity to spend time together, you'll come to know that I love Olympic weightlifting. I love training power lifts because it allows me to access mind, body, spirit alignment and integration. Now, I say this with full transparency. You have to experience it to completely understand it. But I believe weightlifting is a metaphor for everything else that is happening in my life. It is a very intimate space for me. It's a very sacred space. And so I choose the relationships and the people that enter this particular aspect of my world very carefully. But the way I describe it is this: how can you access flow state? Because if you can find the place where the work does not feel like work, that means you've dropped out of your mind and deeply into your body. You are firing from the rawest source of your power. And whether you are cultivating power in a corporate dynamic or a physical one to complete lifting heavy weight, or making policy change through the government landscape, it's all the same thing. It's about alignment. And in order for you to get into the places that allows you to get your talent and move that weight to the place you want it to be, you have to be in proper alignment and know how to wield your talent. So that's what I mean by flow is better than best. It all begins with alignment. You may have noticed Steve Jobs was on my ancestor side. So I own the Apple Think Different campaign. It's such deep inspiration for me. And it helps me envision the magnitude of change that is going to set us up for success. I personally believe that the traditional employer employee relationship is failing women leaders in general, but most definitely Black women. And I think that if there is something that I want to be known for building a movement around in my lifetime, it's this. We come to the table with a different type of leadership, leadership that is not often recognized in its rawest states. And the only thing, in my opinion, that will change that is seating more Black women at decision-making tables. This is why when we come into these dynamics of how do you get promoted within a large organization, one of the primary challenges is that the job descriptions, job roles, promotional tracks, all of that rewards compartmentalization. Think about it. The mindset is you build a niche, a specialty. Job descriptions are written a very specific way, and it's all very compressive. It's very focused, very singular in nature. But as leaders within the Black community, we don't have that luxury. We are in the in between spaces and serving some of the most under resourced zip codes and geographical areas in the nation, period. That is the nature of being born into, growing up within, and having a heart deeply connected to our communities. So, more often than not, these are the same places we are inclined to pour back into, to have a desire to serve. And so, when you are the person and the people and the leaders standing in the gap, making a way literally out of no way and no resource, compartmentalization, niche, specialty is not a luxury you enjoy. The way we lead in every other aspect of our life creates friction with what is rewarded and what is prioritized in organizational promotional paths. And that's what I mean by authenticity sometimes feels risky because it feels like we have to disconnect from how we move in every other part of our life to be seen as valuable within organizational settings. And so I submit that it's time for us to figure out how we can seat more leaders who can recognize the way we move in the world as valuable rather than us changing who we are or how we move to be recognized in these spaces. How do we get more of us to these tables to start seeing that and shifting the narrative of who gets opted into more of those seats and those tables? So this is also a space when we think about the traditional job relationship where culture can be significantly undervalued. And I think we're starting to live through a time right now where even that is changing. I think it could change faster, and I want us to become champions of that. But until we can help shift the model of what good looks like, who is setting the standard for these evaluation and these promotional processes, I think this is going to be ongoing work for leaders in our generation and of our time. Now, we all know where we need to go with this, right? If we can successfully make the transition in shifting mindset from employer to employee and strategic partner, things will move much differently. This is where true allyship becomes possible. And from a marketing lane, we're already starting to see this in practice. Now, I think that the employee dynamic is lagging behind, but you're already starting to see brands invest major dollars in partnerships with creators and influencers. Well, I submit it's time for those companies to also start reimagining the relationships that they're building with their employees in a similar lane. And I think that when you get to that place of strategic partnership, you're starting to see your employees as making mutual investments. They are bridge builders. They're creating real and authentic connections within the community that help bring people to that company brand. And right now, if you look at the trends for what is moving consumer behavior, it's very clear that people are gravitating more towards peer to peer or person to person influence versus large systemic trust. So, this is a place where who you are, your personal identity, accelerates impact for the company as well as for you, creating less friction and need for you to force alignment where it doesn't exist or to compartmentalize aspects of who you are. We want to create and foster the environment where who you are matters as much to the puzzle as what you can do. For those of us who are working in health and community development, I think purpose and work have to meet. You have to find that space where you truly love what you do, or at the very least, the alignment between your personal and your professional mission is very clear. As we said, the outcomes within the Black community are on a trajectory that we know there is much work to be done. So much so that we know that we're also preparing the legacy that we're going to hand off to our children. Our children in the next generation will be working to solve similar issues as we're laser focused on right now. So, understanding that, how can we make as much impact as possible in our lifetimes to hand off the next phase of the work in a meaningful way, but in a way that also feels sustainable? And I think that's why this intentionality between integrating personal and professional mission is so critical. We have to change the way we all think about work. See a day where we are successful in this movement. And as we do that, we are able to build careers that bring our talent more readily into our community development, as well as partnerships with companies that are looking to serve those who are within our neighborhoods. But we get to do it in a way that strengthens our families, our communities, and our careers at the same time. We're also building pathways for leaders coming up behind us to walk a smoother transition to leadership than the one we carved out for ourselves. So it's time to get started. We're going to build this leadership positioning statement, which is going to help light the way to where we want to walk in our leadership journey. I'm going to share this upfront. It's going to sound very simple. This is like peeling an onion. You're going to come up with a baseline of what you are going to land with in the here and now. And then your mind is going to start turning. So I want to give you full license and permission to know that very rarely do you do this in one pass and then it's like set it and forget it. You're going to be tweaking and iterating and evolving. And as your career progresses, you're going to find that there are other aspects that may shift for you. There are things that happen from societal pressures and ground conditions that may shift priorities for you and opportunities, and that's okay. But for the most part, if you are in the center of who you are and what moves you, you're going to find usually you're shifting in a matter of inches. Like small changes here and there versus major turnover. So, with that in mind, the first thing we want to bring to surface is the problem that you want to solve. Now, I know I just said we're not compartmentalizing, but here's how this works. You can solve a complete set of problems. One does need to sit at the top. It has to be the umbrella to which everything else can be connected. Or another way to look at this is if you solve a series of problems, what is your domino pusher? So if I put my finger on this one problem, what is the one that I can tap that will create movement across all of the other problems that you solve? I want you to filter all of the things that you know how to do, the things that you are passionate about attacking, and I want you to run it through that criteria and figure out what is the number one problem that sits at the stack of that list. And I'm going to encourage you to build everything around that particular problem. And then you'll be able to spiderweb out other layers of impact that you can make along the way. But let's start with that problem that sits at the top. And then let's think about who are the people that you are best positioned to help with that particular problem. What does that mean? It could be people you share an identity with. Obviously, I am very passionate and deeply concerned about the trajectory of Black women in corporate executive leadership within the Fortune 500. I'm deeply concerned and passionate about changing that number for the better. I share an identity with them. But you don't necessarily have to. Like, this can look a lot of different ways. It could be a community that you're connected to. You'll know it because it lives in your heart. It's the thing and the people that keep you up at night, that you're most deeply connected to wanting to create better for. So when you have the relationship between the problem that sits at the top for you and the people that you want to change the trajectory for, the next layer of that is defining the impact that your leadership is going to create in their story. So you know what you do, you know who you're helping. Now just play that out. The last section of that is when you do this work, how is their story and the world around all of us different? So the formula you're looking to get to is I help this audience with this problem so that they can, and the impact you create. Again, it looks super simple on a slide, and it is not simple. This is going to be the work of your life. Now, I want to call some awareness to this, which I call the expansion zone. So, you are cultivating a brand of leadership. This is where your name is going to be positioned into rooms before you walk through the door. We're creating a surround sound, a megaphone around who you are and the problems that you solve or the impact that you can create, right? And this is designed to help you to step into future leadership tables. This is what your thought leadership is around and how your name will grow in spaces. Connecting it back to the sweet spot, that is what powers your leadership. So, sweet spot is your power source, expansion zone is your engine, your thought leadership engine. So, those two things really do go hand in hand, but they're slightly different. And I want you to have awareness of how that works. Okay, so now we have done the work of landing on this statement. Are we done? No, this is where the rest of it begins. So, the words that we use on our LinkedIn profile, our about section, if you're speaking on stages, how you build the assets to position you for those opportunities. If you're writing a website, the language that you use to describe your value and what you bring to the table, your resume, all of it comes from the brand positioning statement. But we have to take a journey to go from that internal strategy to outward facing messaging. That's what the Say Less messaging kit is going to do. Use the QR code to come into this separate dashboard. There's also a link on the hub as well. When you do, you'll know you're in the right place because this is what you'll see. And it gives you a little explanation on what this does. It'll walk through the framework. Couple of things to be aware of. There is a custom GPT assistant that has been designed to help you walk through career facing strategy and messaging. So that is the executive career strategist. You can access that link here by clicking the button or the photo as well. Below that, this is how you're going to get into the messaging kit. There are two options for different types of learners. If you are someone who likes to talk through your thinking and you want to use more of an AI forward solution, if you're on that free Notion trial, this is a great opportunity to test drive their AI features. And then from there, you can continue using them on the paid plan. What you'll want to do is click Pathway 1, the voice-based experience, and that has been designed for those type of learners and processors. If you're more of a tactile, I want to type it out. I don't want to talk it out. I want to type it out, and I want to have more manipulation on the keyboard. Those processors still exist. We have customized Pathway 2 to be more towards that type of journey. If you want to use more AI assistance, I'm going to recommend that you come into the audio pathway. And when you do, you're going to notice that all of the framework elements are there. Right below that, there is a place where you can hold all your database, your artifacts, and your resources. Well, I'll give you an example of what that looks like. If you go into this particular one that talks about brief, the leadership identity brief builder, there are step-by-step instructions to guide you through how to use Notion AI. You'll want to make sure that you download the desktop version of the Notion app. The voice recorder transcribing features work best in that environment. All of the prompts are there. You'll be able to click that blue button. It'll be active for you in your workspace. And you just talk through the answers to all of these things. Once you do that, once you have your voice note ready, you'll be able to copy and paste. There are prompts here that are listed for you. And then you'll be able to copy and paste everything from your transcripts and place it into this particular space. And then use the copy paste feature to put it into the GPT to produce the final document. If you have any question whatsoever, know this is a journey that is designed to support us over the course of many seasons. I want to make sure infrastructure is in place. This is not meant to be started and completed all in one setting. These references are here for you. You can reach for them whenever the season calls to you. And if this isn't your season and you know somebody else who's actively looking for career realignment, maybe this is the time to share those resources with a sister. That is appreciated and valued. I want to see as many of us rise into these executive seats as possible because I think, again, that's what gives us the best outcomes as a community. I want to remind us that if you want to schedule time to talk, this isn't like, I'm going to sell you a coaching session or anything. No, I am not taking this work on to sell the things. I'm taking this on because I need more sisters in high places so that we can do real work together. Okay. So this is an active link to my calendar, and you schedule time with me and we will figure out how to get you into the seat where you can make the greatest difference, because as you rise, we all rise, right? That is the entirety of my motivation in doing this work. I promise. So once you have understanding of how to use the toolkit, reach for it whenever you're ready. No pressure. I'm going to come back into our slides. We only have a few more. I just want to call out one more time that your path, the one that you are walking right now, we know that we're designing a strategy to get you to the seat. We're thinking about the messaging. This is not the same as creating a massive platform to get, views or likes or follows. It's actually quite reverse. Believe it or not, the way that the leadership brand building process works is it's going to impact those closest to you first. And then as traction builds there, it will start expanding outward. So that's a good thing. That means that the people closest to you will be able to recognize and see and be able to share you more readily. Conversations are happening about where opportunities are going to be flowing in the coming weeks and months. A lot of promotional processes start behind closed doors long before they're ever visible or advertised to the public. And so the more you have this digital presence and more people can start having you top of mind, that is going to strengthen your ability to move in these in between spaces and get recommended first. So that's what we want. The second thing is we know that the higher up you go, partnerships, relationships really do help movement go faster. There's so many case studies where leaders from one company reached out to a friend and another, and the next thing you know, it helped the market take a leap. It came down to people, connections, and relationships. So that's what I'm so focused on. I think that it's important to get us into those seats, but we need to be thinking about the type of relationships that are going to support us in making decisions faster as we get into those spaces as well. We need to have those connected networks that we can draw upon. And then finally, I want you to feel empowered that this is going to evolve as you do, as seasons and times do. And we are grateful that what we are seeing today will not be always. We know that there are ebbs and flows, whether it's the policy landscape, resource landscape, corporate growth versus retraction. There are all these different cycles that are at play that shape where opportunity lands around us. What we can do, what we can control, is being ready when those opportunities present and to have the right relationships and resources behind us to walk through those doors. So that's what this moment in time is all about. I hope that you're going to find this information valuable and that you will join us for live sessions. We'll certainly help each other brainstorm and troubleshoot. Those aren't teaching sessions. Those are let's build relationships and do this work together. Where can we conspire for good? So thank you so much for joining us. I believe we are positioned right now as the world is reimagining what work looks like. AI is a huge disruptor for a lot of the processes that are involved. This is the perfect moment for us as Black women to redefine how our experience is valued in these spaces, especially where we know that the AI and the humans have to work together in partnership. There's no better leader positioned to understand human connection and how to move the dynamics of people alongside what technology is uniquely positioned to do well. So if we can get together and get the right tools and the training and access, I have every confidence that we can change the trajectory of where our leadership sits within these organizations for the better. We love your perspective on what will serve you on this journey. I think those of us who are choosing to stay in the corporate space to go up that ladder, that is an act of service in and of itself. And so I want to know, what is the resource that is going to help you stay in this fight? Because we need you. We need every single one of us that is willing to stay. We need to surround you with resources. We need to surround you with people who want you to win, because we know what we're up against. So please take a moment, share your thoughts on what could help you in this particular space, whatever your work looks like today, wherever you want to navigate to in the future. What's going to help you get there? So grateful to be alongside you for your rise to wherever your career will take you. I want you to win. It's as simple as that. So if there's anything that I could do, whether it's sending up a prayer or sending over a resource or a connection, if it's within my power to help, I want to be that support for you because it's going to take the entire village for us to get to the places we desire to go. Until next time, whether I see you in a training, a live session, or out in the world, I am wishing you all the great things in life and look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.